Welcome to Live Better Longer. I'm your host, Bill Borton. Family caregiving can be difficult at best and a train wreck at worst. But having some planning in place, starting with a conversation, can make the whole family caregiving process a little bit easier. My guest this week, Cathy Sikorski, is a consulting attorney in elder law and has been a significant caregiver for 8 different family members and friends. A speaker and author, she promotes financial and legal preparation for the tsunami of aging that will affect us all. Cathy also finds humor in aging and caregiving, as found in both her books, Showering with Nana, Confessions of a Serial Caregiver, and Who Moved My Teeth? Preparing for Self, Loved Ones, and Caregiving. Welcome, Cathy. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Bill. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
Yes.
So, Cathy, how and why did you decide to go from being an elder law attorney to a speaker, an author, and a blogger?
Well, the truth of the matter is life just sort of decided that for me. Life decided I would be an elder attorney when I started taking care of my grandmother at first when she was 92 and I had a 2-year-old at home and was still trying to practice law a little bit. And then I went through a series of taking care of 7 more family members and friends. And over that period of time, I realized that I needed to focus my law practice on elder law issues because that's what I was dealing with.
Right.
And then I realized, which you probably do too in your world, that it's kind of hard to save the world one person at a time. Mm-hmm. And so I thought maybe I could do a better job, do a better mission if I took the whole big picture and started teaching people in a larger scale. And so I wrote my 2 books and I started to speak, and I spend most of my time speaking and educating people about, like you said, the tsunami that's coming with aging and caregiving.
Mm-hmm. And so have you found that you've really enjoyed that transition?
Oh my God, I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I really love it so much. And I love it for lots of reasons. Number one, it's for me, I don't have that fear of getting up in front of people, obviously. Mm-hmm. That's a joy for me. But secondly, every single time I speak, people come up to me afterwards and ask me really good and important questions. And I'm able to not only give them those answers right there on the spot, but guide them to where they need to get a professional. Because truthfully, Bill, and I bet you find this, people don't think they need a professional yet. Mm-hmm. They haven't yet figured out that they already need a professional.
Well, most people in most areas of their lives need a professional. You know, you weren't born able to decide that I can just buy a car without any help, or I can pick the college without any help, or I can do anything without any help. But yet, why should I pay somebody to help me with anything?
Yeah, and it's not even just pay. I love the college explanation or example here, because you know as well as I do that tons of people pick a college without any professional help. Mm-hmm. You know, they look at some books, or they'll look at online now, everything is online obviously, and they don't really maybe focus on what's important to them on 2 phases. Number one, what is it that I want in an education? And number 2, which is what we're also talking about, what's it going to cost me, right?
Sure.
And that can end up being devastating, just like caregiving issues, long-term care issues, even elder issues, even getting today the right documents you need in case something happens to you.
So you mentioned the documents. Put your attorney hat back on for a minute, please. Okay? So, you know, when we talk about the planning, whether, you know, you're going to have the conversation with your family members, if you have any or not, and whether you're going to put an actual long-term care plan together or not, you still need the legal documents. And a lot of people just think the last thing they want to do is talk to the long-term care guy, me. The last thing they want to do is talk to their family members. Wait a minute, these are all last things.
Right.
But yeah, but then I got to go to an attorney and I got to pay them to put documents together that I really don't want or think I'm ever going to need?
Exactly. And my favorite story about this is when my children went to college. They were 18 years old, and by law, they are adults, right? And I insisted that my children sign powers of attorney so that when they were at college, if anything happened to them, either financially or medically, somebody would talk to me, because technically, nobody had to talk to me. They were adults.
Oh, yeah.
And so I say to people, truthfully, if you are 18 years or older, you should seriously consider what a power of attorney does and why you might need that. And this is the thing. Nobody knows what's going to happen to them. And here's the 30-second definition of a power of attorney, because some people don't even really know what that document does. It is a document where you give the power to someone else to act as if they are you in every capacity, either financially and or in healthcare decisions.
Kind of helps if that's a person you can trust.
It's really a powerful document, so it's scary to give that power away. I get that, but you can make that document out and nobody even has to know you did it.
Except the person that has the power.
Until they need the power.
Right.
You know, you can have that in your nice little safety deposit box, or your fireproof box at home, and keep it there, knowing that you've done the paperwork, that the person, and a lot of people make their spouses in charge, which of course makes sense. Always, always, always have an alternate. I don't know about you, but I travel a lot with my spouse.
Well, it's like, hey, you know, your spouse may end up needing care or losing their marbles before you.
Exactly. Plus, my spouse is my pal. We travel together all the time. If something happens together at the same time, even if it's just temporary, we need another person to be in charge.
Sure.
This document is critical.
So if you did a good job raising any children, assuming you have any, then maybe one of them might actually be capable of doing that.
Exactly. But I live in a world as well, a couple of my friends, non-family members, I was caregivers for, and I was their power of attorney. There's lots of people out there, you and I just talked about this, that don't really have anyone that's a close family member, but you have to pay attention and you have to choose wisely.
So what other documents are essential?
So I love the advance directive or living will as we talk about it, but not for the reason most people think. And most people know that that's the document where you check the boxes. I don't want chemotherapy. I do want palliative care. And it's only used when you're in a permanent vegetative state. That's really important. You're not going in for an appendectomy and coming out with no kidney because somebody said you're an organ donor. It's really important to understand that. It's only if you're in a permanent state where, let's be honest, Bill, it's a pull the plug or don't pull the plug document.
So you mean your opioid addicted kid can't sell your kidney?
That's right. That's what I mean. However, the reason I like this document, I like it that you've made those choices, that you decide if you're an organ donor, that you decide if you're a pull the plug or not pull the plug family. But what I really like is that you've put somebody on there who now has the authority to say, this document was signed by Mom. I'm not deciding this. Mom is deciding this. So all those people who come out of the woodwork to say, I have an opinion about what we should do now that Mom is on a respirator, they don't get an answer. They don't get an opinion. Mom or Dad already decided. That's why I love that
So both
document.
of these documents are important before you die.
Right.
Then you have a will, theoretically, and if you're going to get one or the other of these, you might get all three if you don't have them. The will takes care of things after you die.
Correct.
So I know when I was reading your book, you know, Who Moved My Teeth, you know, people think if they have a will and they've named an executor, that's all they need to do.
That is so correct. And I wrote a little poem. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
But my favorite little poem, POA, which means power of attorney. Those are for live people. So POA, alive today. Once you pass away, only an executor can play. So if you tell me that you're your executor for your mom, but she's in a nursing home, that doesn't do you any good. Wills are for dead people, POAs are for live people. It's kind of as simple as that. And you need them both.
So what else do you recommend that people include in this part of the conversation and planning process?
Well, the one thing I want to talk about, and I want to just jump back to wills for just a minute, because my favorite conversation about wills is most people have them in the very back of their underwear drawer behind that sexy lingerie that they haven't looked at for 30 years, because they did it when their kids were young. That's usually an impetus for most people to do a will. My kids are little, they might need a guardian, they might need somebody, a trustee. The problem is you've got to take that out, brush it off, pull it out of the underwear drawer and look at it and do a brand new will. It's very unlikely that your will is up to date. So that's critical. That's another part of the important document conversation. And then the next big piece after you get all your documents in a row is long-term planning.
And then you have to talk about, gee, how do you pay for this stuff?
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that when we come back after a break for a word from our sponsors. This is Bill Borton. We'll be back in a few moments with more Live Better Longer with my guest, Cathy Sikorski.
Shelter dogs aren't broken. They've simply experienced more life. If they were human, we would call them wise. They would be the ones with tales to tell and stories to write, the ones dealt a bad hand who responded with courage. Do not pity a shelter dog. Adopt one.
Say we've got grit, and we'll take it as a compliment. Because it's our uncommon drive, our spark within, that brings us together and sets us apart. We are temple made. And when others take shortcuts, when others take breaks, when others take the easy way, we take charge.
I work 13 hours a day, 6 days a week. So when I'm off the clock, I gotta get stuff done. So when I need a snack, I need something healthy, tasty, and easy to eat. Like wonderful pistachios without the shells. They're protein-powered, delicious, and great on the go. And that's perfect for me. Thanks, Liz. A woman without a lot of time.
Whether you're a gourmet cook or just want to eat like one, visit Rostelli Market Fresh, your home for the freshest, locally sourced ingredients to please everyone who loves great food. Our organic meats, quality seafood, and free-range poultry are cut fresh to order. Chefs create culinary-inspired prep foods made fresh every day, which pair nicely with our vast selection of fine wines and spirits. Choose from handmade pastas, artisan cheeses, organic produce, and grocery items, all from the finest purveyors. Rostelli Market Fresh, from our family to yours.
Welcome back to Live Better Longer. I'm Bill Borton here with my guest Cathy Sikorski. So Cathy, we already talked before the break about all the different planning documents, but now let's talk about paying for care.
Yes. I mean, the first thing that most people don't understand is that they're going to have to pay. This comes out of your pocket. Nobody pays for you to be in a nursing home. There's a little tiny glitch in that with Medicare that they will pay for 100 days if you come out from a rehab situation, a hospital, etc. But the bottom line is most people think that there is some kind of insurance in place to pay for them to be in a nursing home, and that is just false. They've got to pay for it themselves, and so they better have a plan. How are you going to pay that when the average cost of a nursing home today is somewhere between $9,000 and $12,000 a month?
Well, it's simple. You just start writing checks
until
the money's gone, right?
Which is very quickly,
well, for most people, yeah. Some people, you know, think they have, well, I've got $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, that's what you've got, but you have a spouse, right?
Exactly.
And if they outlive you, they might want to be able to live for the remaining years, and Social Security's not going to do it.
Exactly.
Right? So are you going to spend the money that's going to generate income for your spouse on your care and leave them destitute when you're done?
The answer is yes. That's exactly how it goes down without planning.
Yeah.
And the problem is the person that nobody's talking about most of the time is that spouse. That's why I like to concentrate a lot on educating women about this, especially baby boomer women, because they're the ones who are left in the dust. They're often the caregivers. They're often the healthy ones. They're often what we call the community spouse. So they're not in the nursing home, but they're also often the ones who are depending on their husband's income and their husband's savings and their husband's finances to take care of them. And that can be washed away if they don't do a plan.
Correct. And the husband is typically the one that needs the care first.
Correct.
And then passes away.
Yes.
And the wife can live for 10 more years after that.
At least.
Yeah. And so that's an awful...
I'm living for 20 more after that.
Oh, really? Well, you're going to off your husband
Tell
early
my husband.
or what? Yeah. So, you know, so you're either going to pay it all out of your own pocket.
Right.
Or you're going to pay it until you're broke and then go on Medicaid, which is not something anybody wants to aspire to.
Correct.
And then the alternative to any of this is to buy that dreaded insurance.
There's all kinds of ways to do financial long-term planning through insurance types of products. We call them insurance, but you know and I know that there's things that most people wouldn't think of as classic insurance. That's a good financial plan and a way to do financial planning around long-term care.
Sure.
And so my mission is to tell people you need to talk to two important people in your life. An elder lawyer who understands how Medicare and Medicaid works to take your money to pay for those things, and a financial planner who also understands how those two things work to help you keep those resources, especially for a community spouse or even for a legacy if you want to, if you're capable of doing that. But that takes long-term planning now. You know, it's like all your life you hear, eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables. And you think at 70, maybe I'll start eating my vegetables. And I'm like, that might help. But if you started at 50 or maybe even 40 to do something good for yourself, like eat your vegetables, maybe by the time you're 70, A, you're already eating your vegetables, you've got a good financial plan in place, and B, you don't really have to think about it that much.
Well, if you want to live better longer, the sooner you start practicing good behaviors about what you put in your mouth and how you treat your body and how you treat your family and how you treat your finances and all that greatly enhances the likelihood that you're not going to end up destitute and miserable and make everybody around you miserable when you're older.
And who knew that just eating your vegetables had that much impact?
Wow. I'm strong to the finish because I eat my spinach. Right?
That's right. That's right.
So Cathy,
yes.
you know, I know you love speaking, and I've seen some of the YouTube videos, and you're practically a stand-up comedian.
Thanks.
But your books, they're wonderful.
Thank you.
So, you know, Who Moved My Teeth is the second book you wrote, right?
Yes.
And this one's really a how-to guide. And then, of course, there's Showering with Nana, too.
Yes, yes.
And these books are really a hoot on one regard, but they're also incredibly informative, and they're written for the average person who is not an attorney or a financial advisor. They're really, really well done, and anybody who wants to get these books will get them how.
Thank you so much, Bill. I really did work very hard to make these books important but fun. And entertaining, and also to give you the right questions to ask, and also, you know, let you know that you're not alone. That's really important. So how do you get that? Go to Amazon and look up Cathy Sikorski. That's the easiest way, and Cathy is with a C. Or you can go to my website, CathySikorski.com, and if you want to learn anything about my speaking, CathySikorski.com/speaker.
Backsplash.
Backsplash.
Brings a little kitchen
I
into
should put a
this.
backsplash that says speaker in my kitchen.
There you go. By all means.
I think I will.
Yes. So I encourage our viewers to reach out to Cathy, get her books, and if you, again, have an organization and you would like to have someone who's really informative, entertaining, Cathy is terrific when it comes to speaking.
Thank you, Bill.
Indeed. So Cathy, the humor.
Yes.
You know, I love that part about this because, you know, this could all be so difficult, but let's add a little levity if we can. You know, I always like to say, you know, there's only two ways you can die. People look at me and I go, yeah, conveniently and inconveniently.
So true. And it's almost always inconveniently.
Correct. And if not for you, it is for other people.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really important to have humor around this topic, especially caregiving, especially. That's the name of my blog, You Just Have to Laugh, where caregiving is comedy, because if you can't laugh during this, you're going to cry, and you're probably going to cry anyway, but there's so much to laugh about. And my books will definitely lead you down the road of laughter, but also of really good information. So I'm always willing to hear a good joke or a good story, especially about caregiving. So if you want to share that with me, I would love it.
So what's your favorite make you smile story about caregiving from those 8 different times that you were involved?
Well, my favorite one is the one I tell first, which is always about how I lost my grandmother in February, a very cold February. And no, she didn't die. I didn't lose her like that. I literally lost her in the local shopping mall. And I had a 2-year-old at the same time. And that was an adventure that involved the police and security guards and ended up happily, I might add. But it just was an adventure raising a 2-year-old and a 92-year-old at the same time, which is Showering with Nana, Confessions of a Serial Killer, Crossed Out Caregiver.
That reminds me of when my dear mother left with the family car at around, late 70s, had early onset dementia, and she left to go to the dentist. An hour later, the dentist's office called my dad, said, your wife didn't show up. my father called me all concerned, and we set off to try to find the needle in the haystack.
Yeah.
A few hours later, somebody found her at the Morristown Mall, which was her default, let's go shopping. And they called my dad. I went and picked him up. He went and got her in the family car, and my mother never drove again after that.
Oh.
Yeah. And I took the blame.
Oh,
So that
you're a
my
good son.
Well, because I didn't have to live there, you know. My dad did. So, but you know, dementia is a heck of a way to go. And
It is.
both of my parents succumbed. My mother earlier, my father later. But you know, you have to laugh.
You do. You do. I mean, hence the title of my book, Who Moved My Teeth? Certainly a play on Who Moved My Cheese, which is about, you know, changing your life, but also my grandmother in the first story lost her teeth.
Yes. And of course, it wasn't her fault.
No, absolutely not. She was hiding them to be safe.
Yes. Oh my. So Cathy, I got to tell you, having you on the show has been a delight. I've been wanting to do this ever since we first met. One last thing that you want to share with the audience, something that they can take as a takeaway.
I would say to you, please, for heaven's sake, look into the importance of getting your documents together. Do it now, do it today, because it is only going to make your life better. There are lots of people out there like me who are trying to educate you and help you and teach you to do things to make your life easier, and it's really coming from our heart, I promise you. We really want to make your life that's going to lead to caregiving a better and easier life.
Cathy, thanks so much
Thank
for being
you.
on the show.
It's really been a pleasure.
It's been great, and boy, does time fly. So I want to thank my guest, Cathy Sikorski. Again, take a look at Amazon.com, look for her books, contact her if you're looking for a speaker for your organization or your company. And until next Tuesday at 11, this is Bill Borton saying thank you for watching Live Better Longer.